Morning, my friends. I have a spotty work week. I'm working today. I turned down 2 jobs for tomorrow and the day after on account of them being 88 fucking miles away, basically a 90-minute commute. No, thank you. But I'm working today. And Zerloth Eternal. And last night, I didn't finish it, but I watched enough to want to talk about it. Because I think that it's a big part of our confusions. So there's this film that came out in 2019. It's a documentary film covering the era in, I can't remember if it started in the 60s, but it was definitely through the 70s. I think it might have been in the 70s, I think. That primarily in, I think, Europe, Italy, you had the era of Nazi-Sploitation, Nazi exploitation films. These were done in a time where when those films were made, the American public, I'm born in 1980, so like my conscious assumption of post-war America is that the whole world was in the right place because Americans won World War II. Right? And thus we talk about why winning World War II was significant for the world being in the right place with America on top. And it was, mostly Japanese are psychos that never stop, so we had to nuke them. Which maybe was kind of true, but not necessarily the nuking part, but the overwhelming firebombing, as per the fact that they had no air defenses left by that point in the war for them. And then, of course, Mean Mr. Mustache with the Holocaust and the taking over the world, and the everybody is getting spied upon, and you better show your loyalty to X, Y, and Z, and all these fundamentally abusive things and non-freedoms and everything else, and the macrocosm of the German police state to the microcosm of what was going on at Auschwitz, right? And you understood that there was this horrible world that they sneakily kept from you because, the 1930s, the Olympics and all that stuff, and right? And so before you learn anything like that, before you even learn about the 1930s and all, there's a big memory wipe, right? It's history. It's a certain kind of backdrop. There's an assumption of a certain accepted narrative rhetoric, and vernacular. And there's this downplay. It's like they protected communism. They've been protecting communism this whole time, And after the war, they used National Socialism, fascism, as this thing to say that we are nothing like that. And although capitalism is this exploitative thing, that is the shadow of communism, which is why I'm really not a capitalist. I believe in the free market. I don't believe in communism or capitalism. I believe in the free market. I suppose there's capital and there's economic community in a free market because the free market implies voluntarism. Right? So those are the things that I'm for. Right? I don't need to rationalize myself into a totalitarian podcasting guy because I think I got a big enough fucking brain to tell you how you ought to live your fucking life and spend your fucking money. Right? Or, how much, or to dictate how your money is used against you after the government has taken it from you at gunpoint. For those who think it's a good idea that the government has some leeway to put a gun to your head to take your money because your production for everybody is not enough. Right? At any rate, there's a lot of questions one could ask about what is or isn't the right role in the world, right? It's like, if you want to talk about scaling back X, Y, and Z, let's talk about scaling back. But if we don't want to scale back, then let's talk about fucking doing different with what we have. Anyway. So the Nazi-Sploitation thing, all of a sudden they come around, they got these Jewish Italian filmmakers want to make these movies about the horrors of the horrors with whores. They wanted to add the whores to it, right? So the Nazis were socially conservative, but they were economically liberal, right? We don't see that dynamic tremendously in the modern slice of politics. It's like because you got people that are because typically the conservative, like the conservative gets the fascist label because they believe in a little bit more grooming. They're a little bit more keen to like saying, yeah, I think this guy ought to fucking get a shave and a haircut, right? I think this guy should fucking probably get a well-pressed shirt, right? And yeah, that's fascism, right? That's fascism. You're trying to alter my person, right? Maybe not so much with the shirt, because, hey, listen, if I'm on your time under agreement as a voluntarist, that's fine. I put on a different shirt, right? There's certain, there are certain shirts that are not appropriate, for like job sites and things like that. That's fine. But it's just like, if you're gonna say that I don't belong there until I fucking get a shave and a haircut, now you're making me alter my person for you, for your people, for your standards, right? And so we don't want to admit that we want to fascize that way, so we quietly reject you and we disregard your merit because we believe it's a bad look and we want a good look and a good performance, and we're willing to sacrifice good performance for the guy who looks better. That's what happens. So these movies come along, and they're pornography. It's porn. Nazi-Sploitation films are just stories that insert these things, and the rationale. Part of the reason why I had trouble finishing the film last night is it's 2 hours long, talking about this stuff, and there's a lot of shit in Italian, and it's making me read. And I had to multitask, and so I was like, fuck, I can't multitask because I can't just listen. I can't listen, and I only need to watch. I only need to glance to get an idea, because this thing's showing you full clips, full nudity clips, and explaining the whole bit with it, right? Because it's porn. It's soft porn, though, right? You don't directly see penetration, although there's some gnarly, gratuitous stuff, because you are seeing so much fucking skin, right? But there's a funny way in which it's done, it's the idea of seeing the nudity, but you don't see the genitalia, right? And that, like, the woman's not spreading her yoni out, right? In fact, her yoni is kind of obscured by bush, so on and so forth. This is like a fully, like, monetized documentary on YouTube that you can fucking watch, and it's showing you most of the fucking redonkulous scenes with no censorship. All the clips to give you the fucking idea of what you would subject yourself to out of the interest of seeing this. And these movies were not misadvertising either, because, the posters have the scantily clad shit on it. This actress made a name for herself, named Ilsa. She's the famous fucking dominatrix from Werewolf Women of the SS. And, she did a whole bunch of fucking anthology movies of her in totalitarian role. Like, that's what's kind of cool with her. She did like an authoritarian Nazi, then she did an authoritarian communist, and she did an authoritarian, the fuck else was she? Oh, an authoritarian, was she an Ottoman? She was like, for the Arabs, right? Like Arab grooming gang shit. Like, she did a fucking Arab grooming gang exploitation film. That one was fucking true. I mean, I don't know if it was true. I didn't see it. Probably wasn't. But my point, look at what we're dealing with in real fucking time. Somebody made those obscurities that way. So here's what makes it interesting. When I'm listening to the rationalization by the filmmakers in the documentary, because they interviewed a few of these filmmakers and stuff, right? These films, they did quote Holocaust, or they were in like camps and stuff, right? But in the camps it was all, I don't know, whatever. It was all fucking pretense for sadomasochistic orgies and shit, right? And then like private rape sessions from like officers in their offices, uniform porn. It's all uniform porn, right? What are you saying? Hey, hail Satan. No, I don't do that. I don't do that. I don't do that. I don't do the Jeebus. I don't do the Stuten. I will Ave Lucifer, though, because Lucifer doesn't belong in that batch. Lucifer never belonged with gender fluid principles and things either. Right? He is the, Lucifer is the principle of enlightenment. In short, he's the principle of enlightenment. He's the principle of going against the authority in its arrogance. Right? You've recognized the arrogance of the authority and how wrong the authority's judgment was. Right? That's what it represents. Right? You could liken Odin to Lucifer when he snatches the meat of poetry from Sinmara, from in the depths of Muspelheim. That's very much like Prometheus stealing the fire of creation, which he didn't do for himself. He did it for us. Literally, the story is just like he did this to save the mortals because Zeus was being a fucking monster. Right? The bad guy's not trying to save you. The bad guy is working with the evil deity, right? Because there's a side of Zeus that's like demiurgic, because they made the demiurge before they made Jehovah, and they imprinted him, if not on Zeus in his time, on Zeus in our interpretation of Zeus today, at the very least. Because mankind had their failings back then as well. They had their men who were cruel and desired power and intentionally wanted to dumb down the public because of their low opinion of them and X, Y, and Z. What's up, Howard? Best thing about communism is the AK-47. Right, yeah. The AK-47, it's a gun that almost never jams, I guess is the idea. Like, that's like the principal thing about it. It's cheap as fuck to manufacture. And it's designed so efficiently simple. It's designed so efficiently simple that you can apparently it shoots underwater. I understand that. It has the least trouble with fine sand, so it's a weapon of choice for people, for nomadic peoples. So, right. And, so yeah, so you can get away with that, right? Like, it's the peasant's firearm, you know? It's not a super high caliber gun. And it's, I guess it's got some limitations, but I don't have the gun knowledge in my forefront. If my dad was here, he could chew your ear off about it, and I just don't want my dad on my podcast. He's not, oh my God, I would have to, I'd have to do a whole other thing for him to fucking go on and on and on in ways that I find autistically frustrating. Sorry, Dad. He's never going to hear this, but sorry, Dad, just in case, on an off chance. Like my cousin decides to catches this one fucking thing I said, sends it to my dad. Then you see what Steven said about you in this fucking thing. Anyway, yeah, my dad will chew your ear off like that, you know. He's just like, hey, Dad, can I hang out with my friends now? Can I have my friends back, Dad? Thank you. Anyway. So, this smut that's coming out of Nazi-Sploitation films are, what it is it's, all this shit that you've been learning was, the books the Nazis were burning was, it was pornography, it was trans stuff, it was this, that. It's just like, they didn't burn down anything, like, deep, right? Very interesting things about that. I mean, they might have thrown a handful of things out there. And the question is, you know, like, how much book burning was official state book burning versus some guy and just a handful of his friends wanted to do, like, a book burning, you know, for themselves. You know, they didn't want to take any pictures of it. This is what they did, right? So making these films is like, this was what they were doing in the 1920s. This was part of the moral outrages that the Reich sold on the people, right? It's just like, you know, like the people, they sold that they were going to be the solution to this problem, right? Oh, look at this absolute level of degenerating our fucking society, as per the terms of the agreement of this war that we lost, and X, Y, and Z, right? And people had a continued imagination of the, quote, Weimar Republic, right? And it's just like, you know, like, but nobody wants to properly tell me what the problem was with the Weimar Republic, right? Because the Weimar Republic doesn't quite have these issues. They got different issues, and you can't fucking frame it the same way as you can with me, Mr. Mustache, because once you take out the principle of the eugenicism, anti-Semitism, once you take out all that shit, now you don't have a boogeyman. Now you just have, well, a guy who lost the war in history. Right? And the question of why. Because the Holocaust was not quite the thing that was selling us on anything. Right? You know? Even if there were whispers of a Holocaust in, you know, by 1942 or whatever, you know, that wasn't rising us up. Just like the fucking, you know, just like the execution of fucking Iranian citizens who are against the IRGC. Right? We didn't go to war. We're 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon, and then we go to war with Iran. We've never gone to fucking war to save one motherfucking life. We've never done this as a good guy principle. We have stood against the nation as per our moral standards, right? Where, you know, like, we're like the only reason why we're not so friendly with fucking Pakistan is because, well, Pakistan is not very much like us, and we like the Indians a little bit better, right? The whole 9 yards. There's all these fucking complicated reasons, and we're trying to like both of them, but, you know, if we have to choose between India and Pakistan, I'm sorry, I'm going to choose India. Right? It's just, This is my feelings about it. Like, I can't take back the end of the British Empire, and undo the Balfour Declaration, and undo the whatever accord created Pakistan, which you see towards the end of the Gandhi movie. There's a scene where where the American journalist asks Gandhi about Hitler as far as he's concerned as a man of peace. Now, if we're talking about the 1940s Gandhi, 1940s world in India and the British Empire and such, Gandhi probably understands the circumstances of World War I and didn't forget them, and Gandhi probably didn't know about some sort of Holocaust that was necessary to fucking stand against. Right? I mean, I don't know how extreme Gandhi was. Was he gonna fucking just disarm his fucking nation? Right? Which, that's not going to work, because if you are any level of a nationalist, you want to have military for general terms of sort of defending the border. So you'll just collapse because somebody will just come and invade you, and so you would end up doing the next best thing, which is like, okay, we can't all not have guns, but you cannot have guns. Our military will have guns. And then we promise never to turn them against you. Right? Right, sure. And, And so now they're doing the smut again, right? And that's all coming like it seems like 1970s Hollywood and music. Not that I'm condemning a whole bunch of things that happened in the 1970s, right? Because do not ask me to speak ill of David Bowie. All right. Anyway, go through this progression of degeneracy, and so we're looking at what has been like 50 years like this, right? Communism creeping into liberalism because of where it came from with other pseudo-Marxist movements that the Democrat Party reconstituted itself after the Civil War with. Because, the Democrat Party, being the party of slavery, had all sorts of ideas about the welfare state. Now that the government had to deal with all of these free blacks, that some of them are not what you think, right? It's just like, as that behavior goes on, like, this is the thing that makes life funny and confusing, right? You're so improperly informed about history that when you think a group from history is a one-for-one for what's going on now, you find out how wrong you are. just look at what conservatives have come to accept about the black population, especially in the poor spectrum. Because this has a lot to do with the poor, right? Poor whites and poor blacks are different, right? I mean, we're always different, right? I'm talking about there's different things that kind of trigger out the stresses amongst the poor, right? Different feelings. You got different kinds of racists. And the same thing goes for poor Jews and everything else. So you've got to appreciate the game being run on you. That's a lot of what it is a big fucking game. So, oh, look at you, you're the party of slavery, right? And you, having had been this Republican, party of Lincoln, I'm the true equalitist, right? Well, that's the joke, is that it was a mistake to be the quote equalitist. I mean, I'm an equalitist as well, but this is an equality of merit. If my merit is equal to yours and I deserve equal, compensation for my merits, right? If my merits are inferior to yours, I expect less, and will look at myself and say, how do I work harder to be of greater merit? Can I handle the baseline of merit where I need nobody to be taken care of? I did that one. So they convinced us that the Nazis were all like rapist monsters, just that they were the degenerates, right? This was the idea. And considering that this was about, because you're talking about the abuse of prisoners, right? This is the idea, the abuse of prisoners, the abuse of people that are detained, that are not criminals, but are deemed untrustworthy by the state. That's who all these characters fucking are. And what the fuck are you supposed to do with that? We talk about, oh my God, concentration camps in America. These are deportation centers, right? You could say that the concentration camp model is used, but these are hubs for people coming and going. And because there's an inherent like when it came to the Jews in Germany and Europe and such, they weren't unregistered. You couldn't say, oh, these undocumented Jews, these illegal alien Jews. No, that wasn't it at all, right? there was they changed the legal dynamics by which like the Reich had laws against Jews living in Europe, right? And so your imagination is fueled by the Jewish discrimination. Not all Jewish discrimination was anti-Semitism. I do not believe that everybody was that simple. But getting swept up in the politics, the politically active, it was that simple. Just like, this is why they hated MAGA, because MAGA often is very politically simple. It's just like, we love Trump's policies. Trump's policies are the policies of the Republican Party, therefore I voted for this. Right? Full-blown endorsement, I'll take it right up the ass, sir, thank you. Right, this is MAGA. They are there to make you feel disgusted for the Democrat Party, right? They are there to be that vicious human being and gaslight you to thinking that's what the conservative world is like. All these fucking schmuck, shock, jock, fucking political pundits. Which is why Europeans were shocked when they came here and they found American hospitality, right? Is the World Cup 2026 our Olympics 1936 or whatever? Look, everybody, like, we have a lot of the people, we've deported people. They're not here anymore. We're not trying to keep them in these camps, right? I don't believe our budget is allocated for that. So they're in and they're out. We are not making it that crazy. The policies that made this necessary, that we are undoing, has made it this crazy with all the fucking anchor baby shit. And then talking about, oh my God, separating the families. Half the people that were brought here were lied to anyway. So I still believe there are plenty of things that were right and fucked that I can't explain because it's a different kind of conversation about Nazism. Especially because I do believe that the Nazis were fascist. Yes. But fascism is not unique and exclusive to Nazism. And that's been made very clear, right? But my point is that you see how the script keeps flipping, right? Spielberg just took out all the porn and did the same thing with Indiana Jones. I mean, especially the third one, Indiana falls in love with a fucking, she practically is a Nazi dominatrix. But at any rate, even if there was sadism of that kind amongst the Nazis. There was sadism with many. There are no angels in this world, but they work very hard to hide their true face and give you the public image they want you to have of them. That's a fucking fact. So they brought back the smut they were doing before the Reich happened. But they added the aspect of overtly going through and basically dehumanizing the German through this, right? Because there's been a strange anti-Germanism that doesn't get talked about. Why don't we talk about it? Like what's really wrong with the Germans? Like, as a people unmolested by agenda. There's something strangely wrong. Yeah. So I gotta get going because I'm getting pretty close to my exit. What I'm gonna say is that you know, today you see a lot of this, how all the smutty material has been kind of a pride and joy of communism, or at least of socialism. In fact, maybe not communism. Maybe the thing is that, like, the socialists will end up having all this smut, but then when the socialists get to a communist phase, it changes, and it doesn't become the same. It's not like the same thing anymore. Does that make sense? Because exactly how much smut is there in China? How much smut was there in the Soviet Union, for that matter, right? Versus what kind of hides in the cracks of socialist countries. You know, and let's face it, a lot of times a woman's gonna be inspired to, with all these economic circumstances, like, you know, well, I'm gonna have fun performing sexually with my body for money in a way that is perfectly suitable for me as a lady. This is the thing, right? And we have to reframe what we think we're looking at in a major way, right? Because these revelations, they are more easy to frame than you think. We're still missing too many holes in what has been our oversimplified misunderstanding of history in the 20th century. And I got a bunch of new guys that are homophobic as fuck, and they can't handle my nipples because it's It's distracting them because they're so fucking sexy. My sexiest of nipples has completely taken over your ability to think. So yes, I am promoting all sorts of smut myself. See how gratuitous I am? Alright, see you later.